All right, we are live. How's it going, everybody? Nice to see you. Got some folks already in the chat. Brian. Hey, Brian. Polkster13. I think your new username. I'm thinking it's the same person as used to be here. Just new username. And John K. Wolf. Thanks for the videos from OCR Events and Builds. Thanks for the videos. Just got into automation and doing everything in Apple Home at this point. Wow, 100 things in Apple Home. That is really exciting. Well, congratulations. And definitely going to talk about some automation ideas, potential things to work on in smart home tech with Apple Home and with other systems. We also have some interesting Apple news to talk about. Some Apple news I'm excited about, some Apple news I'm not as excited about. And I also, since I published my 3D printing video yesterday on my channel, want to show you some stuff that since that video went into production, I've also started 3D printing, which is kind of cool for some new garage workshop organization that I'm doing. And good evening, Mike from Minnesota. Yeah, I bet your weather's starting to get cold like ours is. It's not cold yet, but it's colder than it was a few weeks ago. And hello from Canton, Georgia. Jeff, nice to see you. Yes. Okay, cool. Yeah, Frederick, I was guessing it was you. But I'm also a little bit different live streaming setup tonight, kind of testing some things. So maybe some things messed up on my end, but I'm not sure because everybody's coming through with their @ usernames, not their personal names. So maybe that's me. But anyways, Saul, yes, it is getting a bit nippy. But hopefully you're enjoying some warmer weather, Saul. So start off with a little bit of a spicy topic, I guess you could say. Some spicy topics. Oh, wait, I need to, hold on. I need to sign in really quick to this website so they, never mind. Oh, here we go. This is, well, I sign in. I should recommend The Verge is always a great subscription to check out. So I subscribe to The Verge, but this was a kind of interesting technology in the home idea. It makes sense when you think about it, but it's also kind of silly. But Kohler's new toilet camera provides health insights. And, you think about all the levels of machine learning that are out there these days. You can put this on any existing toilet. You don't need a new fancy Kohler toilet or anything. I don't know. I don't know what to think about this. Love to hear your thoughts in the chat. I think in general, it's a very practical idea and could be a real nice future for how we monitor important parts of our health. Obviously, I'm sure George Langabeer, our friend, would be on board with this. I know he's having a good time in Miami right now. I think the fingerprint scanning idea is also clever because then it can easily confirm identity. Although, man, that's going to become one dirty fingerprint scanner potentially. All kinds of useful insights. And I think certainly there are certain people, I think this will be amazing and add some technology to probably something they have to track anyway. I don't know if I'm going to be testing it out myself. It'd be certainly a hard product to make a video on. But yeah, I'm sure someone will have a creative YouTube video on this at some point. So let's see. Absolutely not, Frederick. Yes, and Brian has a good question on F1. I think actually this deal broke after we did our live stream with Jimmy last week, which you can go back and watch my live stream with Jimmy Hawkins at Automated House. That was a really fun time. I will have many more guests on in the future. Just this week, it's nice sometimes to go back to flying solo. It's a little bit easier for me to set up a stream with just myself. But I did talk about it in my Sunday Scene newsletter over on my website. So F1 and Apple TV announced a big partnership. Now, my family are big F1 TV fans, and I linked here a good video from Cleo Abram. It's a few years old now, but it's still, I think, very relevant. If you're kind of hearing a lot about F1 and like, what is this sport all about? How does it even work? Why is it different than, arguably a little different than other kinds of racing? That's a good video to bring you up to speed on that. Also, if you want to get connected with sort of the personal stories of a lot of the drivers, the Drive to Survive series on Netflix, I think, is really the genesis of a lot of this growth in the U.S., the Formula One scene. And just tuning into the latest season of that will cover the previous F1 season's drama and stuff. And then usually, I think it's like February or March of the following year. So February or March of 2026, Drive to Survive will presumably come out on Netflix again. And so that'll be another fun thing to watch for. But I'm excited because, I think the big conclusion for me, and the interesting side of this for this YouTube channel, because I don't really talk too much about Formula One here, is just that I think it changed Apple TV for me from a nice-to-have streaming service subscription to a must-have streaming service subscription. You probably know the difference in your household of the streaming services you do not want to cancel, of course, like a membership to this channel, but other memberships where maybe it's like, I kind of like, let's say, HBO Max or some other streaming service. I'll subscribe for a month or two and then cancel. Yeah, Apple TV used to be that for me, although I had it through the Apple One bundle for the most part. So I tended to keep it month to month, but now I think it's now I get something I was paying extra for with Formula One's streaming service, F1 TV, for free, so to speak, or no additional cost with Apple TV. And I think that they're just looking to do more and more deals like that, where they just make Apple TV more and more relevant to more people and make it something that's, grows subscribers because more people want to pay for it. And I think this is a big move. I also heard there's a really good discussion on the Relay.fm podcast upgrade. They had a good discussion this week on the implications of this deal and all kinds of other stuff around some of Apple's new products as well. And just some of the details around the deal and how this is potentially structured, how this will actually play out for Apple taking control of F1 in the US. And Jason was speculating in that episode, Jason Snell, that Apple might be trying to make this a global service, right, where they can add rights to more and more countries over time. And I think that makes sense. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Apple try to take rights in other places as well, especially if they're already going through the effort to make this all set up, in the US. But I'm very excited, and we'll see what happens. And I know we kind of deviated a little bit from smart home tech there, but I just wanted to, Frederick, down in Austin this past week, we had the American Grand Prix at the Circuit of the Americas. We definitely watched it from up here. It's nice to have a race in your own time zone. And then we got one pretty close to that I think actually it's the same for the Mexican Grand Prix coming up in Mexico City. Yeah. I would be curious, how many power outlets do you have approximately in your house? And would you wish you had more? Is there any places you wish you would have an outlet? That is a really good question, Daniel. I do wish I had more power outlets in places like my closet and my bathroom. My house doesn't have, there's outlets in some of the bathrooms right by the counter. So you can plug in things like a hair straightener, maybe, or a hair dryer, but no outlets down around the baseboards or sort of further into the bathroom. I know there's probably some tricky things if that would also be a GFCI outlet and just other risks of, you want it to be in a place that's not going to get water in the outlet. But I just would love to have more outlets in my bathroom and then my closet. I don't have any outlets in my closet, and we have a walk-in closet in our bedroom, and we have lights in there that are powered with a neutral wire switch, so I can control them with a smart switch. But I, for the longest time, didn't really have a good way to automate my closet without any outlets. So spoiler alert, probably sometime in the future, I'll have a video on my channel talking more about how I automate my closet, because I think I'm in the process of figuring it out and making something that works pretty well. But yeah, those are two big places I think I would add outlets if I was, let's say, building a new home or renovating a home. Otherwise, we have a relatively modern house, and I'm pretty pleased we have, let's say, 3 outlets per room. So that's, and it varies depending on the size. Bigger rooms, we have more. And I've never really made a complete inventory of every single outlet in our home, but I generally find I'm not dying to have an outlet certain places, as long as I have, I think the living room, we have a bunch more, because that's, the living room, we do have a bunch more, which is actually really nice to have there. So hopefully that answers your question or gives you some ideas. But a lot of people I hear who talk about, the more outlets and the more Ethernet drops you can put in a new home, you'll thank yourself later. Obviously, there's increased costs there, and at a certain point, it just gets ridiculous, right? But having some more options there, room for growth, is nice. Oh, wow. Watching on my new M5 iPad Pro from Iowa. Well, thanks for tuning in. I love my M4 iPad Pro, and I'm glad to hear you got the M5. I think looks like a beautiful machine. I'm really excited. We talked a little bit about that last week, of some of the new upgrades with Apple's N1 chip that has a Thread radio in there in the iPad, although no one from the reviewers seems to really have a clear story on why Apple put the Thread radio in. I think it's, as we talked about last week, kind of direct control of your smart home devices. I find my iPhones, since they got the Thread radio, tend to be pretty fast at controlling smart home devices. And oftentimes, I mentioned, there's a video I did a while ago on how to make your smart home more reliable. And one of the things I mentioned in there is sort of a backup method of controlling your home if your HomePods go crazy or something, is to just pull out your phone and talk to your smart home by talking to your voice assistant on your iPhone. And I think there's something going on there behind the scenes of the iPhone using Thread to talk directly to your smart home. I'm not 100% sure on that. I've never gotten official confirmation from Apple on that, but that's the impression I get. And I also think there's another reason they put Thread in there is just for easy device setup. If you have a newer Thread network, maybe you don't have a full mesh setup yet. But yeah, I mean, I'll keep asking around different people who might know more about that, and we'll see where that leads. Maybe we'll get to some interesting answers of why Apple has ever put that radio in more and more Apple devices, not just their smart home devices. Yeah, I think Jeff is suggesting this for my my closet. The challenge with my closet is that the The light switch is actually outside of the closet, which makes the automation that much more desirable, right? Because if you walk in the closet and you realize, oh, I want to change the lights, you have to walk out of the closet to get the light switch. So yeah, that's, but it's a good suggestion. I could certainly, I got the wires there, could put that in if it was inside the closet. Hey, James, nice to see you here. Yeah, I definitely have some setting on for just showing. Let's see if I can edit this. Just showing, it seems to be just showing the usernames of people, not their actual names. Right. I'm not sure how to fix that on air, so we're just gonna roll with it for now. But yes, good to see you here, James. Sorry about the usernames tonight being there instead of your actual names, but we'll have it fixed for next week. Yeah, this is a good question. I think with the launch that Apple had with the new iPad and MacBook Pro, I don't think we'll see anything more from Apple this year, but I don't know. I was certainly on alert some mornings this week to see about what was going on with like the Apple newsroom. Did anything get announced certain mornings? But I didn't see anything any of those days. Certainly kept an eye on my email as well. But yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with that. But I'm guessing we might see something. I know Apple's planning a bunch of smart home stuff for next year, so it might just be that they'll bundle everything together. I also speculated over in my newsletter, I think it was not the last one, but the one before, that I wonder, and I think other people have speculated this too, with Apple renaming their TV service to Apple TV, maybe they're going to change the name of their box to something else, maybe use the HomePod brand for the box, HomePod Video, HomePod TV, something like that, because it is a smart home device, and to have these different devices that are all smart home, but branded different things like Apple TV and HomePod Mini, putting them all under one kind of cohesive name would make sense, I think. But we'll see. It is tricky though. If you need to get a new Apple TV for some reason or a new HomePod Mini, I don't know if I would right now. I mean, they're not super expensive devices. It's not like you're spending Vision Pro level of money on a new speaker. However, it's still like be a shame to buy a speaker like a HomePod Mini and then have it be obsolete in a few weeks' time. So it's not unheard of for Apple to release products in early November. So I think if we don't see anything in the next few weeks, then I think we're definitely through the rest of the year. But I wouldn't rule it out for them releasing something, let's say next week or the week after. I'm certainly going to be keeping my eyes open, but I'm not holding my breath and thinking it's certain. We also have, speaking of new Apple products, one other thing that they announced this week that you might not have realized is that they released a new, where is it? Here we go. So I got to sign in with my developer account for this. You have to be a developer to get one of these. But, here, now I got to, okay. Here we go. Two-factor auth is done. And then I can show this is the new developer strap for the Vision Pro, everybody's favorite Apple product. So just it's nice to have a faster USB-C connection for connecting it to your Mac. It also, so it replaces one of the side straps, and then you have a little dongle like hanging off the side. I tried the original developer strap and returned it. I ordered one of these earlier this week, so we'll see how it actually works. I'm not upgrading my Apple Vision Pro. I still have the original version, but this is supposed to be compatible with it. My experience when I tried before I returned my developer strap, it seemed to have good performance with the better performance with the virtual display for Vision Pro connecting to your Mac, because I think it's actually using the physical wire connection at least to facilitate some of the details of the connection. So I don't know. I know a lot of people aren't really into Vision Pro, but I did want to point that out. And the other thing I do want to mention as well, speaking of Vision Pro, whoops. Oh, that's annoying. Okay. So I got the new head strap today, and I tried it for a little bit. I haven't had a chance to really do an extended session in it, but like it's really way more comfortable. So you turn this knob on the top, and it can tighten or loosen the top, and then you push it in and it can tighten and loosen the back. And the reviewers, if you've been following the reviews, have talked about how the back of this thing is heavier, and it really is because they've added some tungsten down here in the back of this part of the strap, and it's totally heavier than the old version. But I like this a lot. I think this is a really nice upgrade. If you use a Vision Pro a lot and you have the original version, this is totally compatible. $100, which is a lot of money for a strap, but it is a very fancy thing. And yeah, I think definitely worth the upgrade if you use your Vision Pro. So I guess that's myself and George Langabeer and Shane, maybe like 4 other people. But I hope that, I think with this and Vision OS 26, it almost feels like, and maybe the new developer strap, Apple Vision Pro and the Vision OS platform is really hitting its stride right as I think a lot of people are counting it out as dead. And I hope that it doesn't get completely abandoned by Apple just for smart glasses. I think there's something there, and I think they can keep pulling on that thread and getting something cool. So we'll see. But that's my Vision Pro corner for tonight. Enough on Vision Pro. Thank you, Brian, for becoming a channel member. Great to have you. And yes, you get exclusive videos, behind the scenes, some other stuff. I continue to kind of work on what you guys are interested in for videos and what can I bring you more of. Thinking about some of that today, actually. So, all right. So some good questions around home renovations. And actually I had another thing. I can't always respond to all these questions, but I had a good question come in from a reader, Ari, for my newsletter this past week. He just, you get the email from me. It is my email address that sends my newsletter, and you can just hit reply. And by the way, I might be changing a few details of technically how I send this email newsletter in the near future. We'll see. But yes, subscribe and you'll be transferred over. But then with that, you just hit reply, and then I get your email in my inbox. He was asking about Wi-Fi 7 these days. Building a new home, is Wi-Fi 7, I am guessing it's a he, Ari was asking about, is Wi-Fi 7 worth it? Because you probably heard mixed results from different people. And of course, now the new iPad has Wi-Fi 7. We've had iPhones now for 2 years with Wi-Fi 7. I think there's some definite benefits to Wi-Fi 7. And I think I told him, that it's probably worth going with Wi-Fi 7. But one of the things that I talked about in my Ubiquiti Unify video on Wi-Fi 7 earlier this year is, especially with Ubiquiti, but I think with a lot of platforms, you need to be thoughtful about where you're putting your access points more than you were with past versions. I think, plenty of past versions of Wi-Fi, you could get away with just like stuffing your access point in the closet, right? And where it would have lots of heat, very poor ventilation, and not good line of sight to anything in your home. And it would mostly work, especially with 2.4 gigahertz. But with Wi-Fi 7, there's a lot more benefits of having the access point have direct line of sight to something and be in the same area, especially if it supports Wi-Fi 7. Now, Wi-Fi 7 also has a bunch of fancy new things for better signal further away from the access point, as well as lower latency. So it's a whole collection of different technologies. So I don't want to like oversimplify things, but that's been my experience, is that putting access points in more places in my home that are closer to where I want to use Wi-Fi has helped a little bit with Wi-Fi 7. And then the benefit is you get faster speeds and lower latency. Your Wi-Fi 7 devices will otherwise complain more than your other devices about, hey, I'm getting low signal in this particular area. So all things to consider. And the faster speeds and lower latency could be important if you transfer a lot of large files on your network. Maybe you have really fast internet to your home, like a fiber connection, like 2000. I've been exploring fiber options that maybe will come to my area sometime in the future. I was like talking to someone else and just hearing about what they have at their home. And there's an option from their fiber company for 2,000 down, 2,000 up, and 2,000 megabits per second. And if you have a plan like that, having Wi-Fi 7 helps you take advantage of the extra bits of that speed. But I mean, that's assuming the server on the other end can deal with a connection that fast too. There's a lot of things to think about there, but latency also for gaming could be nice. That said, I think if you're not into Ubiquiti, if you're not into fancy networking setups that you kind of build out yourself and do a lot of fancy tech work on, just a more basic mesh networking system, I reviewed the Eero Pro 7 series earlier this year. And the advantage there is that I get, from what I've seen in my research back then, and I think this is still true, a lot of the Wi-Fi 7 access points and basically little hub routers for those mesh systems, they have more Wi-Fi radios in them, more Wi-Fi and antennas, and that enables them to support more Wi-Fi devices, which can be really nice for smart home tech because you probably have a bunch of Wi-Fi devices. Even with Thread and other things, growing and over time, it's still, Wi-Fi is still an important backbone of your smart home. And the other benefit, if you're using a mesh system like that, is that you get the potential of a wireless backhaul that's much more performant, because those mesh nodes can use one of or certain special combinations of those radios to communicate between each other. So if you're connected on one of the nodes that's further away from the base station, then you get a better connection. And I think that also plays into, especially if you're doing something like with Eero, you can do the Eero outdoor access points. That can also be a big benefit if you have like let's say a big backyard where you like to spend a lot of time, a pool or something like that. It could be a nice way to spend some time outside and get some good internet. Because of course, when you're outside, what else do you want to do other than look at a screen and connect to the internet, right? So, yeah, just some thoughts on Wi-Fi 7. Okay, good. I was worried there. It sounded like Frederick lost the stream, but I started talking about fiber, and my cable company was like, "We're gonna cut his connection." Brandon, nice to see you here. Another creator from Minnesota. We got to get you, Brandon. We got to get you on the stream one of these days. I'll talk to you offline about that, but that'd be fun. Okay, cool. No hiccups for Brian. Oh, cool. Maybe there's some more Apple plans for some more events. I haven't. Yeah, all I've seen so far is stuff that's from previous weeks that was kind of before Apple announced the other products. But maybe I missed something about Juan's bringing up a good point around maybe there is going to be another Apple event. It's certainly not out of the question. They've definitely had press events and stuff in previous years around that time. Oh, cool. So John's saying the new Vision Pro band is kind of like the Quest band. That would make sense. I think there's a lot of stuff those two companies are learning from each other, I guess you could say, and putting their own spin on it. Of course, I think this feels like I would be not fair to Apple to say, oh, they just copied Meta here, because I think this is a very much a bespoke Apple design, fancy product, right? Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of overlap in functionality. Oh yeah. Brian, that's a good point. I should make a members video around some of the stuff I do with shortcuts. Cause I do use shortcuts a fair amount, and, there's also some things you can do with shortcuts for Mac can actually be a really good interface into shell scripts or other kinds of scripts you might run on your Mac. And so I do that a bunch for different things. So I might, thank you for the suggestion. I might have to work on that. Yeah, giving away the upgrade headband. All right. Oh, and TP-Link. Yes, I know, John, you have TP-Link, I think, cameras as well, but they have a good outdoor router as well. So, yeah, Shane did lose his dishwasher. Man, sorry, Lone Star Trent. They don't make them like they used to, I guess. That's what they say. So get to some more questions in a minute, but I want to show you, since earlier this week I published my 3D printer video, I wanted to mention a couple things, like kind of director's commentary, I guess, on that video, and then we can get into some other stuff. But so the first is, I really think if you have the room in your place for a 3D printer, the Bamboo Lab series, which I really like, it's the only brand that I've tried. Their A1 Mini starts at $250 without an AMS unit. Who knows, with current global economy, prices might change, but at least right now, like, it's $250, which is a decent amount. The one I got with the AMS unit and the bigger base is double that at $500. But either way, I think it's a really fun, if you like doing smart home automation, then it can also be what I've almost considered like another form of kind of the same time-saving idea, where you're creating these little things that just make your life that 1% better every day. You walk into a room, your lights turn on automatically, right? You are able to pick up your toothbrush from a nice stand that you made for it, or you're able to find the thing in your drawer because you printed Gridfinity for it. There's just all those little things that over time you can gradually make better, just like with smart home automation. And then you suddenly have like just a lot of great little upgrades to your life. And and people were focusing on the cost of the printer, like how long until you pay for the printer, and I think that's kind of looking at it the wrong way. I think like you're buying the printer because it's fun to have a 3D printer, right? This is not like oh, I'm going to, make tons of money back from my 3D printer. I'm not running a 3D printing business on Etsy or something, but you're spending the money on the printer, but then the incremental cost to print more things is a lot less than buying something that's meant for that, right? So you can print things with filament that you buy for, let's say $20-ish is kind of the retail price maybe for a roll of filament, and that's going to print you a lot of stuff. It depends on the brand. And I can't remember actually offhand how many grams a Bambu Lab filament is, but yeah, so that's just my thoughts on it. Is like, I found it to be really fun. I think if you're into smart home tech, there's a lot of overlap there in terms of the interest. And I'm certainly not pivoting my channel, right? I'm going to still talk a lot about Apple and smart home tech. That's the focus of this channel. However, you'll probably see me continue to mix in like 3D printing into that because I think there's some creative ways that they can overlap and make for some interesting stories to tell you on YouTube and ideas to give you for stuff. So you need a place where you have the space for a 3D printer, an electrical outlet, as we talked about earlier, good ventilation, and that doesn't exist in every home. So I'm not saying that a 3D printer is for every last person, but I think a lot more people, you might have just kind of dismissed the whole category for years. So rant over. And yeah, that's a good point, Ratchet. I have not tried that, but I know there are some. One of the Gridfinity websites that I linked to in that video, they have a service where you can buy Gridfinity stuff from them, and they'll mail it to you. Yes, that's my kids. My kids would love that, maybe even more than a toy machine if it could be a candy machine. Yeah, it's like a lot of things. It is a space and time and money issue. Just like all three of those have to line up, and you might have two of the three at any given time. But this is something I printed. So I've been working on garage storage, and this is oh yeah, by the way, I have the MX Master 4, which is a great mouse. But I printed these little things out of PETG filament for my garage, and it's just a design I found to hold my Ryobi batteries, so I can screw this into the wall, and then this fits the battery, and it just like is on there, and I can pull it on and off. So, and then for the bigger batteries, because I'm all into their system of different tools for my home. Then I have the wall mount for the bigger batteries as well, and so I can just put this on the wall, and it just holds it right there. So, and people have made. Oh man, my white balance on that second camera is way off. Sorry about that. But people have made different versions of that for pick your preferred power tool. Like there's different mounts for all the different manufacturers out there. But yeah, it's kind of a fun thing to play with. But enough on 3D printing, because I know it's not for everyone here. But I had to, especially this week, because I published my big 3D printing video. Wanted to talk more about that, and I might chime in on the live streams of like, oh, here's some more stuff I'm 3D printing these days. So, because like, for example, I'm also working on a lot of automations for you guys and cool stuff in future videos, and I might talk about that on the live streams too. The challenge is some of that stuff, I can't talk about it until the video comes out for one reason or another. So, or I can't, or I don't want to, depends on, what's going on. Got to leave a little bit of surprise for some of the future videos. Thanks, John. All right. So, yes. this is a good point, Lone Star Trent. And I mentioned this briefly in my video, especially at the end of the video, where I talk about how you print the little benchy boat when you get a Bambu Lab printer. And I gave that to my kids, and then they started realizing, oh, the dad got this thing and it can make toys for us. So then I've just been inundated with requests of toys, and I showed some clips of that in the video, but they're always coming up with ideas of what dad needs to print next. And also not only for them, but signing me up to print stuff for their friends. So they'll come home from school, and my kids are very young, my oldest is in first grade. So, but they'll say, Dad, we told so-and-so that you're going to print them this and stuff like that. So, it's all fun. I love it, but, it's definitely something that comes with the territory, I guess. So, all right. So we've talked about, I think, another Apple news thing, and I'd love to get some more questions. If you have questions, prefix them with question in the chat and we can get to them. Here's some more. I'm sorry to hear your, all kinds of good conversations going on in the chat, but, prefix your question with the word question. It'll help me find it. We can get to some questions in a minute, but one other Apple news related topic from their recent releases to talk about is something Mac Rumors was talking about today. Is a little bit sensationalist, I think, kind of view on it, but they're just saying that Apple's really cutting the production of the iPhone Air because just not enough people are buying them. So I think it is hard to judge the actual volume of iPhone sales when Apple does not share it, because Apple uses a bunch of different suppliers, and they'll often play suppliers off each other or tell a supplier that they're, not going to buy a lot, for one reason or another, just as a negotiation tactic. If you read the Apple in China book, you get a front row seat to how that was for many years. So, at the same time, though, it's great comments there. It's good. Where's my 3D meatloaf? Yes, and it also can be great for Christmas gifts. And yes, so to clarify, to Ratchet Gang asking me in the chat, I got the Air. I initially ordered the Air, so with my initial iPhone pre-order. Then I canceled it and changed to the Pro. And then I tried the Pro for a little bit and went and returned it and got the Air. And I have kept the Air. I love my iPhone Air. It is so nice. It just feels great in the hand. It's really easy to use. I find the camera to be more than sufficient for my kids are doing something cool or cute. I want to just grab a quick picture. Yes, there are certain times where I can't get a good clip of them on stage, let's say in a concert scenario. So there are times where it doesn't work out as well. But overall, I think I would rather trade the thickness for the weight difference and just having a phone that's so easy to hold. And the battery life has been completely fine for me. I spend most of my day on some form of Wi-Fi connection, so that probably helps a lot from what I've heard from other people. But I use wireless CarPlay. I use Maps all the time. I do use my phone a decent amount, but I just think, and I use the battery pack or something else if I'm going and need more battery capacity. And I think that's a nice thing to sort of, you have a thin phone for your regular life, and then when you need a thick phone with more battery, you can put that on. Yes, I know the battery is still not as much as the total milliamp hours of that if it was in a phone altogether, because you lose charging to heat. You lose, power to heat there. But I just think the iPhone Air is a great phone. I've really continued to enjoy it. I will be sad if Apple does not continue to make it, but I understand, it's people's preference. But I think at this point, it's still too early to really gauge the demand for the iPhone Air. I'm sure that we'll hear varying reports over time. Maybe not. Maybe if it all is universally like every analyst is just saying, no, this thing is not selling, then maybe that's true. But I think the amount of data we have right now, it's hard to tell, especially because a lot of the people upgrading right at the beginning of the new phones coming out, they're the pro iPhone users who want the big super duper iPhone. So often I'm guessing the Pro Max or the Pro. But if you're considering the Air, I don't think you should be too afraid of the downsides, and give it a shot. Plan on, strategically think about your 14-day return window with Apple or whatever, company you get it from. So you could always backtrack. But I think in general, it's a great phone, and it's something worth considering. And I think it gets panned or sort of, I don't know. People are too hard on it, but enough on that. Yeah, the biggest screen I can get. Nice. And the iPhone Air, that's a nice part about it though too, is that I think for a lot of the cases where people want a bigger screen for bigger text, I think, because I have some family members who want that, and I think the iPhone Air is excellent for that because you get a screen that's almost the size of a Pro Max, but it's a fraction of the weight. And so then you get a lot of the benefits. And it also comes with all of the larger screen features of a Plus or Max size phone. So you can turn it in landscape and get the sort of landscape apps. You can use everything in sort of a blown up mode that makes all the text and everything bigger, beyond just dynamic type, but just like making the phone interface sort of scaled up a little bit. There's an option for that. And that all works really well because of the bigger screen. So I think if you're just looking at it from I guess you could say optical perspective in that case, then I think the iPhone Air is a great phone. So yes, Jimmy's wig. I don't know if you guys saw his Instagram stories on that, but that's pretty exciting to see Jimmy doing that. Yep, and I think this is exactly the reason why a lot of people have not bought the Air is, battery life matters. Let's see if we have any more questions in the chat. Good comments. All make sense. Yeah, I love my iPad the way it is. I don't know if I would like a folding iPad. We'll see. What I like about the iPad is that it is a physical keyboard with a small screen that is very light and I can tuck under my arm. And I think even if Apple were to make an 11-inch MacBook again, there's some details about the iPad and how it's kind of built and structured with the Magic Keyboard that I think make it more amenable to taking on the go. And so I don't really use the Apple Pencil very much, but I just take the Magic Keyboard and the iPad and put it under my arm, go out the door. I have my AirPods Pro in my pocket, and that combined is an amazing setup to get stuff done random places. And as a parent, I find myself, for one reason or another, related to kids or not, just stuck waiting somewhere, right? You're at the shop getting work done on your car, or you're at some other place, to wait to pick up your kids or something else. And obviously, I'm not always in my iPad or phone. I'll go watch them do whatever it is and want to be involved with kids' life. But it's I can't run a YouTube channel without taking advantage of little bits of downtime, or sometimes we're going someplace in the car as a family. My wife is the one who always drives in those scenarios because she gets car sick. So she'll be driving. So then I will sometimes pull out my iPad in the car and get stuff done that way. I don't get motion sick nearly as easily. So yeah, different times like that I would struggle to keep this channel running if I didn't have all those little bits of time to get random stuff done. And I have it on a cellular connection. So then I'm, always connected to the internet, or most of the time connected to the internet. Yeah, so that's my, and I think the other benefit of the iPad compared to a MacBook Air is that the screen for stuff I do as a creator is much better. You get a real MacBook Pro level, arguably better in certain cases, depending on, I don't know, depending on the model you have. You could split hairs about which screen is better for different things, but the screens on the iPad Pros especially are amazing screens. So for doing anything with video or photo on the go, it's a great device. And so I just find that 11-inch iPad Pro to be a really nice sweet spot for me. And I've tried other iPads over the years. I've tried the mini, I've tried the 13-inch just to kind of see, as someone who talks about Apple, is this more for me? Would a bigger screen be better? Would a smaller iPad be better? I've realized that sweet spot at 11 inches is really for me. And that gets to the point too about battery life earlier in the iPhone Air, right? If I have this extra device with me a fair amount of the time, I don't need my iPhone as much. But someone who doesn't have that extra device, you could save money and simplify your life by just having the iPhone Pro Max and then using that all the time. And there are plenty of people who do lots of their work from the iPhone that way. And I remember John Voorhees from Mac Stories. I've heard him talk multiple times about, and I talked to him about this in the past. He used to live in Chicago and work downtown, and he would write stories or do things for Mac Stories on the train on his iPhone Pro Max, plus size or Pro Max size iPhone. And that's very possible, but it's just, there's something nice I like about having the full size keyboard that really kind of takes it up a notch in terms of what I can actually get done on that device, and the multi-window views and stuff on iPad. So we'll see with a folding iPad if that makes for more powerful environment. I'm just worried that then you're basically going to have to sacrifice the physical keyboard, which I may or may not like. I don't know. So oh yeah, you have that. That's another cool thing with Kooksu, I think it is the company. They make these stands and you can mount them. That's a cool thing with the smart connector. Any of the iPads that support the smart connector, you can get various things. It's very limited selection of devices that do this, but then they'll charge it as you mount the iPad, which of course you can also get there's, is it iPort is one of the companies. There's a handful of companies that make these fancy. I've worked with these various companies for different jobs I've had during the day of or actually do right now, day to day, buying these cases, which are not or reasonably priced if you're buying 1,000 of them, but often can be very expensive if you're just buying one or two. But still, they'll put a charger in the back of them, and then you can mount them somewhere, and it's charging the iPad through the case, wireless, almost like MagSafe for iPads. But yeah, Kooksu does have a little bit of that with the smart connector. Let me pull up this so I'm not just talking and you can see what I'm talking about. Here we go. So this is, their tablet stand. So this is what I'm thinking Lone Star Trent was talking about. There's also this version of it now. I forgot about this. I'm glad I brought it up. You could embed this and some other kind of mount. You 3D print for yourself, or other things with that you could put it in a wall mount, right? But that gives you some flexibility. But then they have stands built in, so you can put it on your desk and charge it. Of course, car mounts, all kinds of stuff. So I like to just keep my iPad in the Magic Keyboard. But that is the Kuxu stands you might have seen around. And I played with one a while ago, and I thought it was a great product, but just not as much for me. The one thing that doesn't come through in the pictures, at least in my experience, I think I had this version of it, is that it's much harder than you would think to adjust it to the place you want, right? It's not like a very fluid, flexible stand. You could probably make it that way with some sufficient lube, but just the metal joints are stiff. I think it's so that they hold the iPad firm in place, but trade-offs, right? I really think they are. I really think they are, Ratchet Gang, working on some kind of Pixar style device. You could also say it's similar to the iMac G4, right, where they had the lampshade sort of mechanism, which actually in the Apple in China book they talk all about how complicated that was to build. And I think we'll see. I have a lot of thoughts about long-term Apple smart home stuff that might make its way into a video sometime soon. But so I'll spare you the rant for now, even though I don't know, maybe, yeah, it's, I'm excited about this future. I'm kind of also concerned that I think Apple's desire to integrate hardware and software might be making them hold some great hardware for software that might not be as amazing at launch. I think there's a difference between what's software and what's a service. So I'll leave it at that without getting too many details. I will unpack that potentially in a video sometime soon. But yeah, those of you who stayed on the stream for this amount of time, got a sneak peek. With that, thank you so much for tuning into my live stream. Thank you for just supporting my channel in all different ways. I know I've seen a lot of channel member badges here in the chat. Always great to see channel members show up to live streams. Thanks, Brian, for the suggestion on doing a shortcuts video. I'll definitely see when I can work that in. Busy time this year as we come up to everybody's favorite holiday that everybody celebrates all around the world, Black Friday. Lots of preparations for the big day. It's not Thanksgiving, it's Black Friday. But yes, so definitely getting excited for that holiday among many others. And yeah, a lot of cool videos coming your way. So thanks for tuning into the live stream, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.